Welcome, everyone, to the MMOs.com podcast. Episode 189 here. Altai, joined this week by...
Remo.
All right.
Another week, boys. Another week of us complaining about the state of MMOs and how things were better back in our day, and everything sucks now, and it's all the young people's fault.
It's all Fortnite's fault.
It's all Fortnite's fault. Honestly, I think we can all agree on that. Thoughts? Fortnite? Blame Fortnite on this?
Yep. Any problem you have, Fortnite's the problem.
There you go. Blame Fortnite. Yeah, I'll tell you. What have you been up to this week? Anything spicy?
Anything spicy? No, nothing spicy.
Nothing spicy. Anything mild?
Well, mild, I guess. The Epic, for the first time, every week, I diligently check the Epic Game Store.
Diligently.
To see what game they're giving away for free next. And I have a whole bunch of games now added to my Epic Store library, but I don't play any of them. But I played one for the first time, Transistor. I think it's still free. So if you haven't played it, grab it. It's a great little game. Great ambiance, music, atmosphere, graphics. Short, but you can keep replaying it.
Cool.
Highly recommended.
Nice.
How's that for you?
Not much. That's not bad. Not much for me this week. I don't think I've played really much of anything this week.
I played StarCraft 1 custom games for a while. Remember that?
I did play. Altai and I are really stuck in the past, boys. We're really stuck in the past. I wasn't memeing earlier. I'm saying, all the new games are ruining. Altai and I were playing StarCraft 1 this last week, playing random bullshit maps on Battle.net. Old custom maps like Golems, old custom maps like Sunken D, Lurker Defense. So we are firmly stuck in the past, and we still have friends that are playing Diablo 2. We're lost in the past all the time. I know a month ago, I was saying I played like 10 hours of Warcraft 3. Oof. We need a new game, I'll take to bring us back to the present.
We do. But I don't think we're going to get it. Instead, we're going to get Warcraft 3 Reforged and Classic WoW this year.
Those are, yes, not exactly new games, but they'll get us playing those games. Somebody asked if I still play FF14. Yeah, I've still been playing FF14, actually. I've logged in a little more recently. Still waiting for Shadowbringers to come out before I really dive into it a bit more. They had some new event in the game this week with a crossover with Final Fantasy 15. A bit of a ridiculous crossover because you can get the car from Final Fantasy 15 and Final Fantasy 14. In order to get it, you just do a couple quests, and you got to get like 200,000 MGP in the Gold Saucer, which actually had me going to the Gold Saucer for the first time in a long time. I did all my dailies, my weeklies to get all the tons of MGP to farm that, and I farmed it up. So you get a 4-person mount for free in the game. A lot of games are very nickel and dimey with their cash shops, but Final Fantasy 14 has. I really do feel like with their events, they've always been one of the most generous of the MMORPGs out there with how much stuff they give you. Yes, it's a subscription game. Obviously, it's not a free-to-play game, but they give you a lot. I know about 2 months ago they released a 3-person flying whale mount for like $30, and now they gave everybody in the game a free 4-person mount. Literally a free 4-person mount, which I guess before cost $30 for the 3-person mount. And they give out cosmetics, event cosmetics and stuff all the time. With every major holiday, there's always events, crossover events, other good stuff. And I don't know, I feel like they've been very generous with it. And even the stuff that they do charge money for, they sell outfits in the store for a couple bucks. It's I would say it's one of the MMORPGs where the cash shop is pretty reasonable. But definitely one of the more reasonable.
Isn't that kind of a scumbag move though? If they sold a 3-person mount for like $30 and then like a few months later gave everybody a free 4-person mount?
Yes, I do think anyone that bought the flying whale mount for it was like the first 3-person mount in the game. They've had a few 2-person mounts, but very few. There's only like 3 of them in the game, and then for like years. And then they added the 3-person mount, which is a big deal. And they charged like a pretty healthy amount for it. $30 is definitely not a microtransaction. And yeah, I guess it is a bit scummy, but I'm glad they gave everybody a free 4-person mount. So good for them. And what's funny is Derby made a good point. No, that whale mount was for the whales. So it was kind of like literally like. It was a whale mount. It was literally a flying whale. And you could say they made it for the whales, and I guess it makes sense.
I guess they can't complain then,
Yeah. But I've been playing a little Final Fantasy 14. I just finished all my events on there. I've been playing a little bit, just doing some nonsense in the game for fun. But beyond that, yeah, that's been my week.
All right. Well, it's been a busy week for City of Heroes.
Yes.
I know we didn't really cover it last week, but it is getting, it is quite a story. It is perhaps, we can't do it
definitely
justice
the biggest
here.
Story.
Yeah, it's really worth reading about, and massively I think has a huge story about it. All the details here, but to some, I'll link this here. Just to some, it's one of those games where it got shut down years ago, and for a long time everybody's been the old community has been itching to replay it. So you had people coming to subreddits, forums, saying, trying to make private servers. There was a weird private server where it was just a chat. It's called Paragon Chat. You could just, hub world, you just walk around and talk. There was no gameplay. So everybody was, hoping there'd be a private server eventually. But they came out 2 weeks ago that there's been a private server fully functional for City of Heroes since the game shut down, basically, like years ago.
There's been a private server running in secret for 6 years.
That's
for
crazy.
City of Heroes.
And the only way in was by invitation, right? So now it came out that it existed, and a lot of people got really upset because a lot of people wanted to play for years and they couldn't, even though they could have if they got invited to this thing. So it's a huge division, fracturing of the community, because you had people who this whole time they knew there was a private server and they were playing on it, talking to people on the forums and Reddit and stuff that couldn't play on it. Man, what a betrayal, right? If you were like part of that community of the forum, and half the people you're talking with are playing this thing without telling you.
I was most amazed about this story when I learned that it was kept secret. Like, people didn't know about it. It was only until somebody actually blew the story wide open a couple weeks ago, where they put a video on YouTube showing themselves logging into this private server. And like, guys, it's real. Go look. And he put a video for it. And apparently people were like talking about it like casually, like outside of like on the forums, on the Reddit subreddit and stuff, where they might mention it, but nobody would believe them. Imagine like you've been looking for a private server for a long time and there is none. You can't find any. And this guy's like, oh yeah, there is one. What are you talking about? Yeah, it's pretty cool. And like you see like, oh, this guy's full of shit. Like there's clearly no private server. You just write that guy off. So occasionally people would mention it, but nobody took them seriously until this video came out showing the private server existed. And once the video came out, and the genie was out of the bottle, I think they released the source code, for the private server later. So a more open private server launched this last week. But interestingly, that they opened the private server to everybody, and then now I think they temporarily shut it down because they're afraid of legal repercussions now. So maybe that's one of the reasons they tried keeping it under wraps.
That was the reason why it was private to begin with. The people who made the server, they justified their actions by saying, listen, we tried to make a private server for Tabula Rasa, another game NCSoft shut down very quickly. We tried to make a private server immediately after it shut down, but NCSoft very rapidly sent cease and desist, legal threats, and that whole operation, was basically dead. So when City of Heroes shut down, they decided to be more discreet to avoid legal action. So they had the private server going, but they didn't want to get sued, so they just quietly trickled people in that they could trust. And the guy running the server actually made everybody sign an NDA before they could even play on the server.
That's pretty intense. This guy takes it pretty seriously. He would recruit people on the subreddit through Paragon Chat and then gauge their interest level. And only if they met his criteria for being a hardcore enough and being dedicated enough and interested enough will he invite them to the server. Like, it was almost like Fight Club. You don't talk about it outside of Fight Club. It was this exclusive club for a private server. And you would think in the age of the internet, they wouldn't be able to keep this secret that long. But in general, they did a pretty good job keeping it secret for 6 years. I didn't know about it. And I remember searching for City of Heroes private server before to cover. I think we were an article on MMOs.com about private servers for like old MMORPGs. And we couldn't find anything for City of Heroes. So they did a good job keeping under wraps.
Definitely. And so someone asked, couldn't you avoid a cease and desist with LLC? No, you couldn't. Because they would just serve the cease and desist to the LLC. And then if you as the manager didn't, comply, then now you're criminally liable.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of things where people think they can avoid legal liability with an LLC. I mean, the name limited liability kind of gives you that illusion. But there is something called piercing the corporate veil in law, where basically, if you know you're doing something illegal, which if you're running a private server, you generally know what you're doing is against copyright, your LLC doesn't protect you if you know you're doing something illegal. The LLC provides no defense against something if you know you're willingly breaking the law.
Yeah. And to your second point, Kayun, could he have moved to a country like Russia and ran it from there?
Yes.
Sure. But I don't think this engineer or, to run the server, you got to be somewhat tech competent. The fact that he's not going to uproot his life to move to Russia just so he can, run a private server for a small game. If he was willing to go to those lengths, yes, he probably could have done it. But, it's silly to think somebody would do that.
That is the ultimate defense, though. If you're really dedicated to running a private server and you want to make money running a private server, you have to live overseas in Russia or anywhere where basically U.S. has no extradition treaties where they can't get you. If you move to Europe, they can get you over there too because they have extradition treaties with them. But like if you're in Russia, you're pretty much untouchable. But the thing is, you can't just move to Russia. You can stay there for a certain amount of time, Like as a U.S. citizen, they won't just take you forever unless you marry a Russian girl or something.
It's like you call,
But,
yeah, Putin. Yeah, I'm running a private server. Yeah, amnesty. Yeah, give me some,
special
citizenship.
treatment, Give me an honorary Russian citizenship for fucking over those American copyright holders. Yeah, get me in.
Yeah, it's not gonna work.
But that's the best way to run. It's the only way to basically defend yourself. That's why a lot of even the things if a big company really wants to get you, like Blizzard shuts down a lot of international private servers for World of Warcraft, even the ones in Russia. Because what happens is you have to sue them in Russian court if you want to shut them down in Russia. And for the most part, a lot of American companies aren't going to do that. It's such an extra expense for them that it becomes near impossible to do. But a giant company, if they want, they will come after you still and make your life miserable and make it very difficult for you to run a private server. But obviously, City of Heroes would not have done that. I mean, they're game's been long dead. It's probably not worth it for them.
Yeah, but on the bright side, so they did finally release the code. So I suspect there will be multiple private servers publicly available in a short time, unless of course NCSoft decides to enforce their copyright. We have no idea at this time if how stringent they will be with that.
But the good thing about that is even like if you want to play City of Heroes, a lot of people do want to play. Like if you just get the source code yourself and run your own server, you can play it single player and still have a lot of a good time. Now obviously MMORPGs are way more enjoyable to play with others. But if you want to relive your City of Heroes experience, you can just host it locally and play with a couple of your friends. And then you risk no chance of getting caught. You're just running privately with your friends. You're still breaking the law, but you're not going to get caught. So that's always going to be an option too. Now that the source code is public.
Yeah. So I don't know. I never really got into City of Heroes. It came out a year before WoW, and was just overwhelmed by WoW. I feel. So I missed out on that one. But for those of you who do want to try it, now is your chance. Good drama.
Speaking of these old MMORPGs with like a dedicated fan base, Alta, have you heard of and you've heard of Pirates of the Burning Sea, right?
I have, yes.
So there was a story on PC Game which I thought was interesting that basically this 11-year-old MMO outlived 2 studio closures. This game's been running for a long time, and I remember the studio that first made it shut down. Another company like acquired it and they shut down. Now a third company is running it, and it's amazing this game is around after all these years. It was never particularly popular, but it's a very hardcore, dedicated, small player base that's kept it alive. And what I like most about the story, I mean, it's kind of sad actually, but if you use Control F, Blackbeard also uses on the article. Blackbeard is one word. And just read that paragraph out loud. And I thought it was kind of sad.
Blackbeard also uses his status as an economic leader to keep Pirates of the Burning Sea afloat. Quote, I sell ships and I try to get people to buy the Burning Sea notes. I build ships specifically to try to make people spend the money because if there's no money coming in, the game will close. For me, it's not acceptable because then I might as well just lie down and die because I've got nothing else in my life.
Ooh, that's it.
He's quick to mark the last bit as hyperbole. But the sentiment is familiar to anyone who's invested time and built relationships in an online game. Well, he's really what's the term? Adopted this baby, at this point.
Yeah.
He definitely is all in.
It does feel like a lot of people do get very much attached, like their MMORPG. If you grew up playing a specific MMORPG, it would definitely be sad to see it go. Fortunately for us, I'll tell you, we grew up playing Ultima Online, and anytime we have an itch to play Ultima Online again, we still can. So, there's no really risk of that game shutting it down because there's private servers for it. But like if the game you grew up playing for like a good chunk of your life, is in danger, that could definitely be a pretty shitty feeling. I don't know if it's ever healthy to be able to say, you can't live anymore beyond that, but
yeah.
Quite the sentiment.
We are lucky in that sense because Ultima Online, the actual servers are still running.
Yeah.
And I guess early enough there were very competent programmers who made emulators and private server engines for it. So it's very easy to spin up an Ultima Online server. I imagine for a lot of these games, even though the code is out there, it's still very hard to. It's not a few games like Ragnarok and Ultima Online are literally one click. Like any idiot can make a private server for some of these games. But that is not the case with City of Heroes. Even though the code is out there now, it's not in like a one-click exe format. You need to have high-level development knowledge to make it work with what is now available. That is not the case for Ragnarok Online, Ultima Online. It's one click, bada bing, bada boom, next. You got your own server.
Yeah, so what's remarkable is this game was basically kept afloat by such a small team. He talks about when they were first going at it, they had 25 programmers, right? And then 25 QA staff and other support staff, right? They had 50 employees working on this game with their company, and every year they had to fire people, they had to downsize, and now as of August 2018, they only had 2 employees.
Wow.
The lead designer and their only programmer. And in August 2018, their only programmer left the game. So they have nobody working on the code anymore. I think then they shut down. Now a different company is taking over. and hopefully they're going to breathe some new life into it. And they're going to bring back a classic server, which apparently people were pretty hyped about. So they might make some money with the classic server. But they're running a game with only 2 employees. Definitely going to be tough.
Well, definitely. And I have no idea what the code base looks like for this game, like what engine it's on and stuff.
Mm.
But I suspect the number of people who are qualified and competent to manage and update it is probably like 0 at this point.
That's the thing too. I really wish a lot of these old games, before they even get close to shutting down, they kind of like prep themselves for release, like the source code or maybe the server code, so they can live on through private servers. I mean, there is clearly a passionate community for a lot of these games, where even if it's not being run commercially, somebody's going to run it on a private server in one way or another. Even if it's not particularly easy to do, you release the code, you put some basic instructions in there, and then you're good to go. I mean, I feel like that would be like the ultimate thing to do for like if you own the game yourself. Obviously, if you're NCSoft, a giant corporation, you're not going to do that, right? But if you're a smaller company that has an MMORPG that they can't make any money, before you shut down, release it on GitHub, put the code out there, put some notes in there how to run it, and then sail away to the sunset like that. And I think you get a lot of goodwill with the community.
On that note, there's actually a project I'm a huge fan of, despite never actually playing Morrowind. It's called OpenMW, and these are private people, and their goal is to rewrite the entire engine for Morrowind, not the assets.
Ooh.
So you still need a copy of the game, or a pirated copy of the game with the art assets and stuff. But they want to make the whole back-end engine part of it open source and more modern with good documentation. And what this basically will allow, so the game still looks like Morrowind, but what this will allow once it's working right now, so you can check it out. But when they get to 1.0, it's going to allow anybody to A, play Morrowind on modern machines, and B, very easily modify Morrowind. So if they want to add new chapters, new mods, new characters, new stories, it's basically drag and drop, point and click, easy. Whereas the original Morrowind, it's probably spaghetti code, private, proprietary, code and engines and all this crap. So this is something that's a huge benefit to. This will immortalize Morrowind. 50 years from now, you're going to be able to go back and play Morrowind and edit Morrowind because of this kind of project. And I wish more games, especially MMORPGs, had this kind of passion behind them by either modders or the developers themselves.
I'm telling you, boys, modding is going to revive MMORPGs. Again, the biggest, we talked about it last week. I think we talked about Roblox having over 90 million monthly active users. It's all because of player-created content, boys. And games like Skyrim are still really huge today because of the modding community. Mods are what really keeps these games alive. I mean, you can't add. I mean, when was the last content created for Morrowind from Bethesda?
Oh, I don't know, a long time ago.
Probably not for a while. It's modding content, keeping it going, keeping it exciting. I mean, there's still a lot to do in the game normally, but so definitely a good change. I do want to see more MMORPGs do stuff like that.
Oh, Max, you're working on something similar for Silk Road. That's pretty cool. I would love to see. I wonder what engine Silk Road is on. Is it on Gamebryo or something? A lot of Korean games use that back in the day.
Yes, a lot of those old Korean MMORPGs are made on that. I want to show you something that shows definitively, once and for all, for anyone doubting that Lalafells in Final Fantasy XIV are objectively the best race in the game.
God.
All right, I have actual proof of this, Altai. All right, I have real scientific data that Lalafells are the best. All right, and this is indisputable. Take a look. So this is a tweet showing the clearance rates for ultimate content in Final Fantasy XIV. Either ultimate content. Okay.
Okay.
So all regions can look at the clearance rate by race. Can you tell me who's number one on that list?
Lalafell female, not even male.
Can you know what I am in Final Fantasy XIV? A Lalafell female. All right, Lalafell male is number 2. I have a clear ultimate content, by the way, but
you're dragging down the average.
I am dragging down the average, but this shows unequivocally that Lalafells in Final Fantasy XIV are objectively the best race. All right, interesting. You know what's neat to all that? You can see the overall clearance rates too. It's 1.25%, right? But that's actually unfairly skewed upwards. If you click next to see the next picture, Altai, you can see the European clearance rates. So again, this is for the hardest content in the game. So this counts anyone who's cleared either content. So if you look at just one
of the
ultimates,
God, look at those filthy Europeans dragging down the average.
Are 0.69% on average have cleared, right? And then if you go to the next one, North Americans are 0.62. They're even higher than even lower actually than Europeans. So remember, this number counts either of the.
Oh my God, North Americans are casual as F2.
But then look at Japan.
Oh, good old Japan.
Remember, North America and Europe were 0.65-ish, right, combined, and then Japan is 2.26. The Japanese players are clearing the ultimate content in the game at a much higher clip, than anyone else. So I do find it interesting that, like, in general, when we view Japanese gamers, especially because they're interested in playing games like Fate Grand Order, Grand Blue Fantasy. A lot of mobile games are big in Japan. We've talked this for a long time, but they take their Final Fantasy very seriously. The hardcore content in Final Fantasy 14 they take very seriously, which I think is remarkable.
Allow me to be racist for a moment.
Okay, of course, I'll tell you. Be my guest.
No, not really racist, but I feel part of this is because if you are in Japan, what are your MMORPG choices? Basically, this game, right? Whereas the Western and European hardcore MMORPG base is divided between games like WoW, games like ESO, 14, Guild Wars 2. So the number of games geared towards the elite raider in the West, I think, is higher than the East. That's why. So if you're Japanese and you speak Japanese and you live in Japan and you want to be a hardcore raider, what choice do you have besides this game?
So look at this chart too, Altai. That's pretty interesting. So this shows you the same stats but by server now, and all the blue servers on this list are for the Japanese servers. So what's remarkable is if you look at Chocobo, one of the most popular Japanese rating servers, 6.56% of players in that server have cleared an ultimate fight. This is, versus the best American server is 2%.
This is I gotta open this in a new tab or something.
It's pretty interesting to see how data. It's always been this way though for Final Fantasy 14. Japanese players in general do the hardcore difficult content at a much higher clip than American and European users. So they're much more interested in doing hardcore content. They're more interested in gameplay. Versus, the American and European users are very much interested in more casual content. They're interested in, dressing up their characters. Which, by the way, I love dressing up my characters too. I mean, it's one of the best parts of playing an MMORPG. But it just shows it's remarkable the difference in mentality for clearing. What's remarkable too is the way they handle clearing. Apparently, in the Japanese servers, if you want to do like hard content in the game, you would just queue up for hard content. You go to basically go to the queue up and you're waiting for the queue and you just do it, right? In the American version, you go to Party Finder. So you don't nobody on the American servers or European servers queues up for difficult content. You create a party finder, people join, and you can look them up and kick them up, and then you enter together, because you can more like select who you want to join your party that way. In the queue finder, you really can't pick if you want certain tanks, certain DPS roles, but that's the way they do it. And apparently Japanese players don't just leave as well. What the American mentality is apparently that basically you pull 3 times, somebody fucks up, you just leave, you disband the party, you're out. It's a waste of time. But Japanese players are going to stick with the party. They're going to keep going, and they're not going to remake if somebody fucks up. They're going to keep playing and almost like work together to finish the content rather than just yelling at each other and just leaving.
I don't buy that, because if the pool of players you're playing with are all like you, like hardcore, okay, don't leave. But I think in the West, you're more likely to get somebody who's just a duker. He's just.
But even with the dukers though, a lot of those dukers have no chance to ever learn how to play the game because they always just get kicked for sucking, right? But I feel like if the mentality is always, okay, we're just going to stick as a party and just clear this content. And maybe the mentality is too, maybe over there, they just don't queue up. Like the shitters won't queue up, maybe that too.
Yeah.
But very often, you have a group of capable people. I've seen plenty of parties in Final Fantasy 14 of capable people with all above 80 parses or 90 parses, very high percentile, players. And they're all just yelling at each other, calling each other idiots, and it just falls apart that way, Whereas,
hold up. Do we know they don't? Whoa, do we know they're chill?
Do we know they're chill?
Yes. I mean, just because they don't leave doesn't mean they're not.
I know it anecdotally that they don't disband the party. Basically.
Well, that's separate.
They stay longer.
Well, I remember we read about Korea in
Korea and Japan are distinctly different. Yes, Korea is very toxic.
Yeah, so apparently in League of Legends in Korea, it's very common to leave and feed and like just trash talk your teammates, and you don't get banned for it. So that was interesting to me because part of me didn't expect that from East Asian. My stereotype of them. It's what Omar's saying about in Japan. They sit there for 8 hours trying, and yes, good job, you tried. Let's go again. But maybe they are trash talking each other. Who knows? I don't know. Just because they're not leaving.
They could be trash talking each other, but I don't think they're leaving. They're willing to put in the time to clear the content without making new parties all the time. And if you're constantly making new groups, you're just stifling your own progression.
Also, maybe in Japan, when they mess up, like here's the thing: if I'm rating in WoW and somebody says, "Oh, I'm sorry, guys, I messed up," I'm not going to kick him. But here's what happens in America, guys. Let's say somebody messed up. Like, dude, you shouldn't have pulled that. No, fuck you. You should have CC'd it, or you should have healed me quicker. Like, you know what I'm saying? True. You don't take responsibility. So I can see in a Japanese group where the tank is like, oh, I'm sorry, guys, I messed up. Oh, don't worry about it. Let's try again. That would happen in the West too. But here's what happens in the West. Like I said, oh, I'm sorry, guys, I fucked up. He doesn't say that. He says, you guys fucked up. You didn't heal me.
That's true too. I have actually noticed that very often the worst players are the ones that blame everybody else.
Yeah, exactly.
It's actually remarkable because it's so obvious who the problem players are, and they don't take responsibility. You're right. It's remarkable that if somebody says, you know what, guys, I've been really doing poorly over here. I'm really sorry. Give me one more try. Let's do a little bit longer. And nobody's going to tell that guy, shut the fuck up. Get out of here. You suck. I mean, people only say that when the guy doesn't take responsibility. It's hard to yell at somebody when they're taking responsibility and realizing their faults. It's usually the other way around. No, other way around. That's the problem. So that's a fair point.
I've also noticed that Americans don't, even me, especially with strangers, I don't take advice well. So if I'm healing and someone's like, dude, you gotta do this heal first. Not that you gotta change your rotation. I'm like, shut the fuck up, do your job. Who the hell are you?
All I is a part of the problem, boys.
Like, what are you doing? Did I ask for your advice? What are you doing? What is this? But I can see like in Japan. Oh, thanks, bro. Like, okay, I'll try that. So
that's true.
Nobody likes giving advice, or no one likes receiving advice, and they like giving advice. But even when they give advice, they give it in a sarcastic manner, like
yes, in a douchebag manner,
and that just revs up the toxicity.
True.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of cultural factors at play here.
I do really enjoy, like, again, maybe I just like toxicity, but like when people get angry in Final Fantasy 14, it's always a lot of fun for me. Just the infighting, calling people retarded, pulling up the logs, comparing our stats, comparing our dicks online. It's a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, even the groups where I just wiped and we didn't accomplish anything in a while, I still have good memories if I had a funny banter with somebody.
True. I did find it remarkable that the clearance rates are so much higher. And I'm curious if those numbers kind of imply, is this more of a trend in gaming, or is this a trend in just Final Fantasy? Like for even like console games, for example, are they more try hard for like console games? Are their clearance rates for like console games higher than Westerners? Well, for mobile games, are they in general more try? I mean, I do know this is not necessarily always related to gamer skill. I think the Japanese skill ceiling, the average Japanese player in League of Legends isn't like any better than the average NA player. I mean, Korean players are better on average. Their leagues are more competitive. Their gold leagues are more competitive than our gold league and whatnot. But I don't think it's the case for League of Legends. I'm curious if it's the case for other games.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess they play for different reasons. Maybe if that's true. Who knows? We'll look up the stats eventually. I'm sure for PlayStation you can look up the achievements, and see which regions have the hard achievements to get.
Yeah, and Final Fantasy 14 also has surprisingly high amount of female audience compared to the other RPGs. I think Yoshi gave out the number before too. It's over like 25%, I think, which is pretty remarkable considering most online games have pretty low female player base.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
But yeah, I mean, the only thing on the horizon for me in Final Fantasy 14 I'm hyped for is Shadowbringers, which is coming out late next month, I believe.
Late next month. All right, so that's pretty close.
Next month, or is it July? I forgot.
That's two very different dates.
Yeah, I forgot. It's the early access date begins on. Oof, we still got a while to go. Never mind. June 28th, boys. Yeah. June 28th.
I love how far. So look at on this chart I have open here still. Look at Gilgamesh, the North American server with the good clear rates, and look
that's the rating server.
It's so much ahead of every other European and American server. Holy moly!
But again, they're by far the most elitist server in the game. Like that server I play on, people are much more elitist there. It's like the tryhard server. So, but it's still so much less than so many of the Japanese servers, which is remarkable again for the clearance rates.
I wonder how big
I kind of wish we had data like this for World of Warcraft. I really wish. I love seeing data like this just to see what the clearance rates look like.
It might exist for a while. Yeah.
No, I've seen some very rough estimates for some of the content, but nothing for like current content. Oh. I remember searching this quite a bit in the past. It's really tough to find.
All right, we'll see. We'll look into it. I'll look into it when I play Classic WoW again.
Listen, I've had a lot of meaningless conversations with friends about which game is quote unquote harder. Some bullshit term. But then the argument always devolves down to: does more difficult mean clearance rates, or does it mean like mechanics involved, or what are you using to measure difficulty? And I always defer to something called the clearance rates. But that's not always a fair example either. Because
so who wins on clearance rates?
There's no data. There's no good data. If you look at ultimate content, I think Final Fantasy wins. But if you look at the other content, it's hit or miss depending on the rate tier. But the problem is is clearance rates the best way to measure difficulty in rating? What do you think, Altai?
It's
remember, we can't know everything, but is that the best proxy?
I get it's a good proxy. It's a pretty good proxy, yeah.
But what if a game had like a raid that required you to like hit the spacebar every 3 seconds for like 1 year straight?
Right,
And nobody cleared that, right?
Okay,
Would that be a difficult raid?
So what's the thing? Is it the best Is it the best marker in practice or in theory? In practice, I think it is because no game does that, right? Now,
Yeah.
if a game like that came out, then we can, we'll have to adjust to it. But so are the mythic clear rates really higher than that? Higher than 2%?
It's tough to find. Some of the, I mean, I think if you depends on the boss fights too. If you look at the first, I think in
Well, clear your final boss.
Oh, I don't. Again, there is no good numbers.
I mean,
the problem.
I would guess the most current mythic final boss is lower than 2%. Well, I could be wrong, but that's my guess.
Yeah. I don't know. Again, if you look at the NA servers, it's 0.6%, and that's also kind of unfair because it's looking at 2 different fights. So if you cleared any one of those 2 fights, you're included in the clear rate. So the real number is probably lower than that. And not only that, Altai, a lot of the clears are just alts for the people that already cleared as well. People are doing other alts.
That's funny too.
So you double count people that only cleared 1 fight. Plenty of people have only cleared 1, not both. And they're being counted in the statistics. So if you look at the real stat in the NA service, it'd be like, I would say it's like 0.2 instead of 0.6.
Some big dig MMO arguments you have with people. You go in some stats. I mean, like, hey guys, 2.1%. All right, my game's better.
I've had a 5-hour discussion about difficulty in World of Warcraft versus Final Fantasy XIV. I think the clearance rates for the ultimate content was I was arguing it was lower than the mythic stuff. However, the mythic raids had lower clearance rates than the savage content. Was what I was trying to say. But of course, we have no data, and then we tried to argue. We argued a lot about what it meant to be difficult, and now clearance rates aren't perfect.
Interesting.
Toxic masculinity. There you go, Chief Waker. That's what it is.
Listen, I can win the argument right now. So one of them, Final Fantasy, people clear the shit on a fucking PlayStation controller, right?
Yeah.
So it can't be hard. All right. Some people with toys can beat it. All right. Like,
I don't know. I'll die.
What? There you go. One requires a keyboard and mouse like a man. It's otherwise a toy for boys. Controller. Come on, I win.
So, what's that big rating website out there for Mythic? Wow. Raid Prog.
Yeah.
Make it look up some clearance rates over there.
Raider.io or something. I don't know.
Raider.io.
Yeah.
Let's see some raid rankings on here. See if we can find any clearance rates on here. I wish there was some clear stats on this.
I think you'd be surprised about the stats they have for this shit.
I couldn't find anything.
Mythic Plus? No, I want raids.
Yeah, maybe we'll look this up for next time. I am really curious what the numbers are. Yeah, obviously the numbers are pretty low as well.
Man, we'll look into it. We'll look into it, boys. All right, what do we ask? We're gonna dock it.
All right, I got a fun one. I'll tell you. This is what I love. This is probably the story I like the most. It's a mobile game by Tencent. I look at you all. You might have to log in to show it though.
I'm logged in. All right.
Okay, this game is called Catch the Demon Together. Google Translate, by the way. So our boys Tencent in China, all right, China, are always on the cutting edge, the bleeding edge of originality, boys. All right, they always make top tier original content that you've never seen before. All right. So they made this innovative new AR mobile game, all right, augmented reality with graphics and gameplay you've never seen before. And in case you couldn't tell, I'm being sarcastic as hell because it's a complete Pokemon Go clone from the literal UI to the map to everything. The only thing they changed was they replaced the Pokemon characters from Pokemon Go with what looks like to be lollies that you catch. So obviously this is a superior game.
It's amazing. So the way I've seen the game name translated is "Let's Hunt Monsters." So that's the translation, and like you said, it looks identical in UI. Even like this profile. Okay, so for those of you who played Pokemon Go, how similar is this user profile UI to Pokemon Go? It's like identical. Even the logo of like the behind looks like one of the logos from one of the 3 teams on Pokemon Go. They don't. They're so funny. They're afraid to change anything, so they keep it so similar.
It's really remarkable to me that like you do see American companies and European companies rip each other off all the time. It happens, right? It's normal for it to happen. But the amount of zero shame gaming that we've seen in so many Chinese companies. I mean, NetEase is usually on the forefront ripping off American companies, but Tencent does it too. Obviously, they're not immune from it either. I would say they do it less, but this is a shameless Pokemon Go clone. And we've seen this so much from Asian companies and Chinese companies specifically. They have no shame. I do feel like in some level, American companies would feel shame to do what they're doing. Even if it's profitable, it would just be too shameful, be too embarrassing. But that level of, I guess, shame just isn't there for Tencent.
Well, I'm going to argue with you that you're wrong. Americans are also shameless or getting there because companies like Blizzard are actually partnering with these shameless Chinese companies to make their IPs. So for like Diablo Immortal, there is no reason a self-respecting, glorious Western civilization company should be siding or partnering with China to make a Diablo game.
Yeah, I'm with you over there. I mean, there's no reason. It looks really bad for Activision Blizzard to work with NetEase when they're known to rip off companies all the time. But yeah, I feel like they have to as well because you can't really launch your if you're Blizzard, for example, you're just basically not legally allowed to launch Overwatch and World of Warcraft in China. You just can't. It's illegal. You have to partner with a local company. The way laws work, the way that it works in China is you need a partner. You just literally cannot run your game on your own. There is not a single game run by an American company in China. They all work with a Chinese company, whether it's NetEase or Tencent. That's just the way it works in China. So in a way, they had to partner with them, but they shouldn't release that game in America. The game they release for China through NetEase should be their own Chinese nonsense game.
Yeah,
I don't think it's not good for it to be. They should not release Diablo Immortal in America. That should be purely a Chinese.
Yes.
Adventure.
And that's not to say Blizzard shouldn't make mobile games. I'm all for Blizzard making mobile games, but Blizzard should make them, right? They should respect the player base, their IPs that they made to make the game, not let some Chinese company shill it out.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
it's a bad image for Blizzard to do that.
Indeed, but there it is though, guys. This game is actually doing really well. You told me, right? In China right now, this Pokemon Go clone.
Yes, that Pokemon Go clone is one of the highest grossing games in China on mobile. So they're making a lot of money. This is a huge success. Ripping off Pokemon Go proved to be remarkably successful for them. And like you said, if you just look at the UI for the teams, it's really cringeworthy. And people ask how they get away with this. It's because they're in China. The U.S. copyright laws just don't apply. And somebody asks, how can private servers get shut down, but not these companies? If you can't really enforce your IP in China. Whereas if there's a private server operating anywhere in Western Europe or America, it's very easy to enforce copyrights. But China has always been notoriously difficult to enforce copyrights over there. So, yeah, I mean, the Chinese companies rip each other off too. So it's not they don't just rip off Americans; they rip off each other all the time too. We talked about the Buildtopia, I think last week, the Fortnite clone on mobile. So it's just the way things are done in China. But at least they got lolly characters on here, which look pretty cute. I approve. Pretty impressive.
All right. Well, speaking of some numbers here, I got some more numbers.
Before we get to some numbers, okay. People were curious earlier what Lalafells look like in Final Fantasy XIV. All right, and I got to show you some cute fucking Lalafells. All right, these are grade A Lalafells.
Oh my god, what is this garbage?
Don't get the hell out! This is not great. Look how cute they are.
It's like diabetes. It's like visual diabetes right now.
This is not visual diabetes. All right,
the
these
saturated
are
colors.
Listen, there are I follow this Twitter account for really, really cute Lalafells in Final Fantasy XIV. All right, I find they look like cute. Scroll through those pictures; they're adorable as fuck. And if you disagree, get the hell out of here.
They're potatoes. I like that.
They're cute as hell. They're cute. I think they're adorable.
I gotta say, their feet are not cute.
Oh, don't give me this FBI. I'm not saying they're sexy. I'm saying they're cute.
Hold on,
they're not sexual.
Hold on, look at their feet though. Their feet, I don't know. Their feet look too weird for me.
No, they're wearing some weird outfits in that picture, I think. Like the bear
really?
outfits. They're wearing some gloves in their hands. They have like normal hands, not like bear claws in hands.
No. The hands are fine. I can tell they're wearing something.
Yeah, they're wearing something on their feet.
Oh,
they're wearing some weird bear claws on their feet.
All right.
I'm saying they're cute, guys. I'm not sexualizing it. I'm just saying it's cute.
It's a scene from a horror movie. The first one does kind of look like a horror movie. Like they're gonna kill you while you sleep.
All right. I'll link some cat girls. I'll tell you. You're more of a cat girl guy. All right. There's some really cute cat girls on this channel too. All right. I'm a fan of the Final Fantasy XIV character models. I know you don't like them.
No,
but I think they're really.
They look like clay. I don't like the look of it. You know what they look like? Star Wars: The Old Republic. Another game, which I like the game, right? The systems, the game, but the art style for the characters I never liked, even from the beginning, because it looks like clay. And same thing here. These guys look like clay. I don't like it.
I don't know. You're just hating on some quality.
It's like claymation. I hate Gumby, the cartoon.
Wow. I'm gonna tell Gumby you hate him. Right?
Gumby, the guy is okay, but the cartoon is just weird art style. I don't like.
All right. Get to your numbers, Altai. Get to your numbers. You're hating on my Lalafells.
Yeah, you get out of here. All right, let's go to Superdata. Superdata has some numbers that came out today. Or no, recently I should say. 23rd. What is today? 23rd? Yep, today. And what's the big surprise for me here is still how big PC gaming is and how how concentrated it is in China. So number one game, Dungeon Fighter Online, China. 2, League of Legends, which we kind of dispute this, but I think it's like 80% China. Crossfire, China. Fantasy Westward Journey, number 4, China. And not till Fortnite, number 5, do we get a Western game. A big game in the West, I should say. So, and more importantly, PC games have been dropping, and so have mobile from compared to last year, March of last year. And console is the only part that's still growing in digital sales.
I think it's just like a pause year for, I guess, how many big releases we had, for last year. I think if you look at the projections, I think Superdata's own projections, they did their game. I think we talked about their year in review a couple months ago, and they show that 2019 and 2020 and 2021 would be big up years for gaming. So even though this year, I mean, last year was not a big year in revenue, not making any new records there. Well, gaming is still huge, obviously. You're going to get bigger. I just find it remarkable that DFO is still the number one PC game. And I'm going to say this again, boys. Dungeon Fighter Online makes more money than World of Warcraft. Yep. And not only that, DFO, I think by the end of this year, will have made more money in its lifetime than World of Warcraft. So Dungeon Fighter Online is going to be a higher revenue generating game worldwide than World of Warcraft. I think World of Warcraft is still higher, but every year DFO makes more money than World of Warcraft. So DFO is going to close that gap and then pass it. And DFO is still growing while World of Warcraft has been shrinking. That's
a good point. Yeah. So Dungeon Fighter Online will be the biggest MMORPG in the world by revenue.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the game is available in the West too. So if you're curious what it's all about, there is a version on Steam, and the global version is available. It's not very popular globally though. It's really only popular in China.
Yeah, but it's for those of you who haven't tried it yet. It definitely is worth trying. Only for a couple hours if you don't like it. Just see what it is that's making all this money in China.
And it's just we really lose scope of just how big these games are in China. Like when we see a game like on Steam, we look at the Steam charts, for example, and we bust that shit open. Wow, Dota's got 300,000 players online. You know what Dungeon Fighter Online has right now in China? I bet over 1 million concurrent players in China alone. These games hit multiple millions. I think Dungeon Fighter Online peaked at over 3 million concurrent users. 3 million. That's insane.
If I try out DFO, will China steal my ID? No, don't worry, guys. There is a global version. It's on Steam. Nobody will steal anything.
Yeah, it's a Korean game anyway. It's developed by Nexon.
You will not be playing with the Chinese players. You'll be on separate global servers. So you'll be fine.
So back in 2012, DFO hit 3 million concurrent users. 3 million. I think. Let's see what the biggest game. Well, I mean, PUBG hit 3.2 million as well, worldwide on Steam as well, which is pretty impressive. If you actually look at the Steam charts, the next highest peak players was Dota 2 at 1.29 million. PUBG really had a good run, PUBG was really up there.
Yeah, they really blew it. Look, so right now their average players for the last 30 days is below 400,000 for the first time. So look
at that little bounce they had in January, and then they lost it all. That's all gone, boys.
Mm-hmm.
It's going straight down. They really did blow it though. From the average of 1.6 million back in January 2018, in the last 12 months, 14 months, they lost from 1.6 million to 400,000. That's a 75% decrease, boys. Ouch. I feel like every week we kind of rag on PUBG for losing players, but 400,000 is still, average players is still not bad, not bad.
Okay, there's a funny Twitch story, the meme story here. So Shroud is obviously a big streamer. He was complaining about Apex Legends, saying how he wants to stop streaming it and go back to PUBG because PUBG is looking really good right now, like all the updates and stuff. So he does that. He goes to PUBG, and 3 games into PUBG, he just quits. He alt 4 hours out of a game and says, "I'm done with PUBG. It sucks. It's wasting my time." So I don't think the developers at PUBG know how to fix the problems they have. They have 75% less players, and they still can't fix the servers. That's pretty sad. Like they can't complain about server load anymore because they lost all the players they had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Volvo Joy. It's been that way from like the day one. I feel like since I first started playing PUBG, like pre-early access, before it even launched on Steam, I remember the game just ran like ass, and I'm like, you know what? They're gonna fix it, right? I mean, the game is early access. The game just launched. They're gonna fix this shit. Played it for like a couple months, and they never fixed it. And like I come back like a year later, and like maybe I'll play it now. Nope, still didn't fix it. Game still runs like ass.
When I realized PUBG was basically dead, it can't be fixed. A few months ago, I just booted it up to play it. I haven't played in a long time. I want to try the new maps, right? So I start playing. I'm in one of the smaller maps. It's like a jungle looking one, and 15-20 minutes into the match, I'm like 1 of 20 left. It crashes out of the game and says you need to update. You need to reinstall your game for the update. I'm like, wait, why? That's it happens sometimes. If you let's say you haven't played a game in like 3 years, it'll say like you have to reinstall it because everything changed so much, right? I get that, but why did you have to tell me in the middle of a game? Why didn't you tell me before I launched it? Like usually this happens like when you try launching a game, it says there's been a big update, you have to reinstall all this crap. I get it, but why just boot me out of the middle of a game and make me do it? Like it made no sense. Like how could it be that stupid?
Good point. I don't know. PUBG has always been kind of wonky for me. It's always been an issue. I think Fortnite always ran better, but now that we've seen Apex runs pretty well. I do feel like Apex had a pretty smooth launch, all things considered, with how bad PUBG was. But that had its problems too. I think Fortnite actually, for me, had probably the most clean, like, experience of like just the most reliable. That was my personal experience with it, though.
I mean, I know people complained about Apex for a little bit, like you were disconnecting, but for a long, for launch week, I thought it was really smooth too.
Okay, I'm looking at Steam games. There's a new free-to-play MMORPG on Steam. I'll tell you. Look at this bad boy. Have you heard of Stein.world?
No, I haven't heard of Stein.world.
I feel like I've played this game and they just renamed it. This is not actually a new game. I feel like I've played this exact game.
Let's see.
And it looks kind of like the game we played last time.
It does look like the game we played last night.
I do feel like there's like this 2D MMORPG maker out there that I forgot exists. That a few games are made using.
It looks really cute though. It kind of looks
looks
like an old Harvest Moon game, like a Game Boy Color era or Game Boy Advance era Harvest Moon game.
There are a few games with this look, at least like 4 or 5 I've seen personally, with this exact look, and I'm pretty confident they all use the same engine as well. So I don't know what the engine is called, but I've seen a lot of games use this. Maybe if somebody realizes what it is, and it does have a very Stardew vibe to it, though.
Yeah, I like it. Looks really cute, I like the style.
Yeah, I like. If anyone's curious, I've dropped the link over here. It just launched on Steam apparently, but I do feel like they just renamed it another game. Maybe I'll look into this later. I'm curious. I'll give it a whirl though. I think it was originally browser based. Maybe. Looks really cute though. But these are the kinds of games I want to see on Kickstarter. Not like these epic. We're gonna change the soil samples. It's gonna affect the crops and the potions you make and shit. No, you can't do that. All right.
Can't do it.
Can't do it, boys.
It's also free to play, which is good in this game.
Yeah.
169 players online right now, and it just came out today. That's all right. Yeah. Cool.
Look at the free. I do like looking at the free to play list sometimes on Steam just to see what's on the docket. A lot of goodies will appear on there once in a while.
Nice. Well, did you guys know that Lineage 1, which is big in Korea still, was actually a subscription game?
Still.
Well,
that's pretty remarkable.
It's changing in May. It's finally going free to play.
Hype.
So,
but we can't really play that game in America. I'm pretty sure the North American version shut down years ago.
21 years later, it's going free to play. They've also had a remastered update for the game, which basically fix the resolution issue. So now, it's 1920 by 1080 and all that. So it's still kicking. It's going to be free to play now in Korea. There are private servers for it here in the West, even though there's no official version. And we did play it before, and it's very difficult to get into without a guide, without somebody helping you.
Very difficult. It's not easy. Not easy, boys. Lineage 2, on the other hand, much easier. I recommend playing. If you never played Lineage 1 or 2, I recommend playing Lineage 2. People will say Lineage 1 is better. I think Lineage 1 is more popular thanks to its success in Korea. But Lineage 2 is a game you can actually play and to figure out what the hell is going on. Versus Lineage 1, you will have no idea what's going on if you've never played it before. We have a big story this week, though, is Peria Chronicles. I thought we got to talk about. I think last week we mentioned they changed something on their website, and then we were speculating if there's making progress.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, they are making progress on Peria Chronicles. There is a beta happening, I'll tell you. You can register for the beta that's about to happen.
I heard.
This game is actually coming out, I'll tell you. It's actually out.
May 9 to May 12th is going to be a closed beta in South Korea for the game.
And look at the trailer they released, I'll tell you. Some zero gameplay trailer.
Oh, my favorite.
I love zero gameplay anime trailers, but you can see what's going on over here. It looks really cute. Look at this zero gameplay gaming. I'm curious of what Peria Chronicles looks like today versus like the spiel I read about it. Like, do you know when this game was first announced?
2015.
It's been at least 6 years. I think 2013.
Wow.
I know we say so on our Peria Chronicles page. I remember we put our estimated release date for Peria Chronicles at 2016. Can you believe that? No, it was revealed on November of 2012.
7 years ago, boys.
It's been about a little less than 7 years, boys, for Peria Chronicles. But it looks like it's finally happening. Though I don't know what it's going to look like now. Again, we read a lot about their user-generated content back, like quite a few iterations of the game ago. But now, who knows what it's going to be? Hopefully, it's not just another random anime MMORPG. It's not just another Aura Kingdom or something, and it's they stick with some special sauce. Love the art style, but I don't just want another anime MMORPG. If I want to play another anime MMORPG, I'll play Aura Kingdom. Aura Kingdom is a good game. It's not bad. It's just another generic anime game, or RPL, or any of those Korean anime games. But I want Peria Chronicles to be different. I want them to stick with their guns with player created maps and whatnot.
Well, we'll find out in 2 weeks, so it's not too far.
There is gameplay footage, but it's pretty old gameplay footage now. Let me see if we can find it. It's a few years old, a lot of this content. Here's a gameplay video as well. But again, we don't know what the design philosophy is now versus what it was before. I'm not sure how old this trailer is though. But visually, again, the game looks pretty. But I want them to have the user-created stuff. At least it'll be different that way.
We'll see. We'll find out. All right.
What happened to that mobile game multi that we mentioned like a year ago? The one that's going to be on mobile in PS4 or something? The Japanese one?
Oh, Caravan Stories.
Caravan Stories. What's the spiel with that?
So
Is that still alive?
It's still alive, and it's coming to PlayStation, which is pretty interesting.
In the West?
In the West. I actually listened to it. They speak in, it's fully dubbed in English. So this is an interesting story. It started on mobile, and then it came to console. So it's usually like reverse. Like you get the full feature version, and then like a mobile shitty port. But this is opposite, so that's pretty cool.
Interesting. It's actually coming out in America.
And we might get the console version before we actually get the mobile version.
Nice. It starts with you steering a caravan. That would make sense given the name.
It begins with you.
Ooh. Interesting.
I think the art style looks beautiful. I mean, I can't really comment on the gameplay, but the art style, I really like it.
I feel like we've been deceived too much by art style. The art style can always look pretty, but if the game sucks ass, the art style is not going to carry it.
You know what the art style reminds me of? Trusty Bell.
Trusty Bell? You talking about that PS3 RPG where you play as Chopin?
Yeah.
And you like molest some 12-year-old girl? Yeah.
Yeah. What was it called in the West?
Eternal Sonata.
Eternal Sonata. There you go.
Yeah, that was an oddball of an artistic game. I don't know if anybody in our chat has heard of Eternal Sonata, but you play as this like 49-year-old like classical musician, and you hang out with some like 12-year-old girl. Very weird. Because every time you hit the start menu, you can see like for some reason it told you everyone's age. So it would be like Chopin, age like 40, like forgot the main character's name, but like age 12. Definitely a little weird. Well, I liked it.
Where do you think he got the inspiration for his songs?
Ooh,
right
there you go.
For his nocturnes.
Look, there you go. Chopin was a connoisseur of fine Japanese lolly. All right, it's inspiration for the greats.
There you go. Oh, we got a date, July 2019. There we go. We'll get it on PlayStation. Now, here's the funny part. Will they charge money for this on PlayStation, even though it's a free mobile game in Japan? I want to think they'll make it free on the PlayStation Store, but who knows? We'll see.
Hopefully. All right, what else on the dock? Anything spicy?
All right, here's a fun story, and it actually has to do with Las Vegas, where we are currently residing. Las Vegas man threatened elementary school shooting in HOTS. So this
what?
First of all.
Come on, HOTS?
First of all, he's 20.
Look, if he did it in Dota 2, I respect him, man. All right, but you threatening a school shooting over Heroes of the Storm? Come on, get the fuck out.
Look, first of all, he's 26 years old, right? But look at this picture. He looks like older than me.
He looks like, oof. You don't want to judge somebody by just the first glance, but this is like the most judgeable person ever.
He's old. He just looks old.
He looks old. He's got receding hairline. He looks like he does like some crystal meth on the side.
Oh boy. But anyway,
definitely a questionable character.
So he was playing HOTS, and apparently he got upset in a match, and then
upset in a MOBA? Nah.
And here's what he said apparently. Quote, "Someday, when I have enough money to buy a gun and some ammunition, I will shoot up a school where I live," he wrote, according to his arrest report. Imagine. So anyway, he's crazy. So this is a direct threat, and he got reported by the other people in the match, right? And then during and here's the best part. His defense attorney was arguing to the judge that he was just memeing, he's trolling, he's joking. And this is common online. And the judge, even though he's probably not a gamer, he had an excellent response. He said, "If this is so common, why do your other players report you?" Ooh, that judge is smart, like if it's just normal, they wouldn't have bothered to report him. So yeah, definitely he fucked up, and he's gonna do some time or pay some kind of penalty. But yeah, it's an interesting story, and here in Vegas.
That actually reminds somebody said in our chats in America. What was that story, the Fox News story about like that person in Walmart?
Oh,
remember the headline? It was one of the funniest things I've seen.
No, I don't remember. I don't have to say it.
I can't find it either.
Mm-hmm. But that's the kind of stories we got here in Vegas, boys. We got a lot of crazies here.
Vegas definitely attracts its fair share of crazies. I'm trying to find this, but I don't know if now's the time to do it. Oh, here's it here. Let me see if I can find
it. Rage game. No, I mean this guy definitely messed up, guys. You can say stupid shit in America. I say it all the time, but you can't make a direct. He's literally saying, "I'm going to buy guns and shoot a school." Like, come on, like, I don't know. Also, he's not just because you get arrested doesn't mean you go to jail. So the court is going to go through the court process. So he might not go to jail. He might do probation, some kind of community service. We don't know what the actual terms are going to be.
Okay, this is my favorite America story. All right, this is a real headline from Fox News, boys. This is only in America. Have you ever seen a headline like this anywhere else?
Chaos at Walmart as woman performs karate, son exposes himself, dog steals food. Police say. I love it.
What a headline, boys! This is amazing. This is a Pulitzer Prize coverage right here. All right, this is not like an April Fool's joke. This is real coverage. This is what goes down at Walmart, boys. How is this a headline? Woman performs karate? What's going on?
There's actually a funny line in this. Let me find it.
Just another Monday at Walmart. There you go, Tony Grimm. Dad masturbates. That's like the only thing that would make this headline even better. If it just ended up with like after dog steals food, dad masturbates. Just puts it all together.
Okay, here's the best line at the end here. Bo was caught by officers in the store and brought to the Humane Society Association. The dog was not charged. We issued him a warning for the theft, police said. So they issued the dog a warning for the theft.
Wait, why was this has to be like a meme, but it's not. But they put this in the actual story that the dog was not charged with the theft. They issued the dog a warning for the theft.
Bad dog.
This is like the one bad dog, all right, boys?
He's not a good boy. He's a bad boy.
He's not a good boy. Not today, boys. Not today. Good officer. Good officer. All right. If anyone wants to link to the story, it's real, boys. It's real. Yeah. I thought that had to be a meme, but no. I actually had to Google that to make sure it was real when I first saw it.
All right. Well, we're really all over the place. So let's go back from Las Vegas back to China for a minute here, guys.
Back to China.
Back to China. We're just flying all over.
From Las Vegas to Walmart to China, our final destination.
All right. Here we go. So I think we've covered it many times that China is trying to restrict the number of games that gets released. Every game now has to go through a process of approval. And finally, the government has codified what they're looking for and what the process will be going forward. So a few headlines here. There will be a hard cap on the number of games that China approves of every year. So the cap is going to be, I believe they said around 5,000. Don't have an exact number, but that is already less than the number of games released every year in China.
Wow.
So some games are going to be censored basically. And number
That's
two,
fine. There's a lot of shit games anyway.
There are a lot of shit games. They are just blanket banning all mahjong games, poker games, and basically gambling games. And HTML5 games and mini games like on mobile apps are also going to be required to be approved and go through the approval process. So if you have some shitty game on Newgrounds, if you want that game to be available in China, that Newgrounds game will have to go through the approval process, just like a new MMORPG or whatever. That's pretty, and that's going to really clog up the 5,000 games a year, right? Because it's very easy to make a shitty HTML game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be tough to get games approved there now. At least tougher. More legit games will get approved. A lot of the Duker games won't. And again, it makes us appreciate that we live in the West here, where basically any game gets approved automatically. None of that nonsense. Our hobby is not censored the way it is overseas.
Yeah. So a little more numbers here. So apparently in 2017, 8,500 games came out in China, of which 37% were mahjong and poker games. So the brunt of the enforcement is going to be stopping these really low quality gambling games.
I know there's a lot of low quality games in China, so
yeah,
hopefully stop a lot of them.
Another thing of note is, we've known for a while that they don't like blood in Chinese games, the government. So what a lot of companies would do is make the blood green or blue or something. That will no longer fly. Changing blood or the pools of blood to a different color is no longer allowed. You will not get approved if you do that. You got to remove the blood, I guess, totally.
Interesting.
And yeah, there's a lot of tidbits in here, guys, if you want to look through it.
We're so disconnected from this again in the West, where violent video games and like sexual games and stuff, like they exist online. We can all play them. There's no restrictions, but the world is a little different elsewhere. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of those Chinese users can play on the American servers and stuff too through VPNs, but they're pretty strict on what they allow in China, which is still really weird to think about. Yeah,
it's a totally different world. But do you think any of it will bleed here? I think it will eventually. I think we're gonna get similar, not as harsh restrictions and processes here. Don't forget, guys, we're not that far removed from an era in America where on broadcast TV you couldn't swear, you couldn't show too much violence. There were restrictions on what could be said on in the media. So yeah, it's not unheard of, this kind of censorship in the West.
I mean, they say like the amount of people who play video games is going up quite a bit. This is an old article from the New York Times for about like 2 years ago. Why some men don't work. Video games have gotten really good. So the amount of people playing video games, like how much time they dedicate every week to playing video games, has increased like over 50% between 2004 and 2015. And the number's only going to keep going up. These are average numbers for young men. If you scroll down, you'll find it's still very low average because a lot of people don't play video games a lot, but the people that do play games play a lot. And there's a lot more people playing video games now than ever before. So I think if these numbers get too high, like if these numbers, like if the average person ends up playing like 7 hours of video games a day, at that point, I think, I don't think it's necessarily a good move. I could easily see the U.S. government kind of following the footsteps of China, where maybe they'll pass laws where you can, or in Korea as well, where you're only allowed to play like X number of hours per day, and you can't play after 10 p.m. if you're a minor. Like in Korea, to play a game, you put your social security number in to play, and they do regulate what hours you can play. So if it ever gets real bad, like it is in real crazy the way it is in China and South Korea, we could see this coming to the West too.
Yep.
That's true. Somebody mentioned there are people that watch more than 7 hours of TV a day. Yeah, that's true. And the average number of people that like the TV numbers are even higher. People watch, people that they go to work, they come home, they watch TV, they go to sleep. But that's like the average. I would say video games is probably more interactive than TV, so I would say it's healthier than watching TV.
Well, they like TV because the experience is controlled. The government can control what is fed through the pipes. In a game, you could talk about anything in a game.
Well, it's not like if you're watching your fucking Cartoon Network, or you're watching your Sci-Fi Channel. It's not like interrupted by government broadcasting of like propaganda or anything.
Maybe in the future it'll be like subtle notes.
Maybe who knows. But I mean, as the numbers go up, I could easily see video gaming kind of viewed from the same lens as like some kind of controlled substance, or like some kind of like regulation on that, because a lot of kids are clearly very much playing games nonstop. So there's some pretty crazy stories about people getting violent in Asia over like playing video games and stuff, and just losing it. I don't think the government should interfere with it, but I think it's unavoidable. If it starts to become harmful, for the same reason they get involved with like alcohol and shit, they're gonna find a way to get involved there, even though I don't think they should.
Yeah, I think I'll start with the loot boxes. Gambling will be their way in.
Yeah, that's one way of getting in. Yeah.
They tried to get in with the violence, but they were beat back. So that door didn't open, but they'll get through the back door with gambling.
Yeah. All right. With that, post game all time.
Post game sounds like a good idea. All right. Thanks for watching, guys.
Thanks for watching for YouTube. Rachel mentioned a cool CI thing. I want to talk to him about that.
Okay. All right. Let me close this.